Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's weekly webinar. Glad to see someone of you here today. Kelly G is in sunny California today, back in her home area, and she's representing the KU ADRC at a clinical trials consortium conference. And it's for the AHEAD study that we participated in. So we got a nice round of applause to represent the ADRC in California. So that was super exciting. She's having a grand time out there. And we also have a couple of other events I wanted to just share with you that are coming up that you're welcome to participate in along with us. We've got two walks on October 5th. Both are the 5th. So we have the Alzheimer's Association walk in the morning at the World War I Museum. Love to see all of you there. We have a table, so come by and see Rosie and I. And then we also will be at the Down Syndrome Innovations walk that afternoon. So at either of those events, feel free to come by and see us. We'll have a space at both of those. And just a reminder, make sure that you're on mute. We do have closed captioning available. We'll get that going here. And I want to introduce Rosie, who many of you know, and some of you rushed to get here today and change your plans to watch. So David, we're glad that you did that. Rosie's going to talk to us today about connecting the dots, how key habits work together to support brain health. So Rosie, I will turn it over to you. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Tina. I appreciate everyone being here today, as Tina just said, and I'm very excited to speak with you about some interesting and important ways that different key lifestyle factors influence brain health. Also, by the way, I am a program assistant at LEAP, the KU's Lifestyle Empowerment for Alzheimer's Prevention program, where we do talk about different ways that lifestyle factors like sleep, nutrition, and exercise impact brain health. We'll talk a lot about that today, but if you'd like to learn even more about those factors and their impact on the brain, I'll share some links and resources at the very end. So in our LEAP program, we talk about some key factors that can have a big difference, make a big difference in our brain health, our cognitive functioning, and risks and progression of cognitive decline. You may already be a little familiar with how some of these can impact the brain, and some of the areas that we focus on include physical activity, getting plenty of movement in throughout the day, exercise, that's more structured activity that is designed to build your physical fitness, nutrition, such as eating healthy fats and eating balanced meals, sleep, cognitive and social engagement, and stress management. And today, I want to talk about some specific ways that these healthy habits can make a difference and why they can have a positive impact on our brain health. So there are many sort of underlying reasons why some of these lifestyle factors can positively impact the brain, but today I'm going to focus on three main whys. These are basically three mechanisms or kind of systems in the body that are related to those lifestyle factors and that kind of allow those lifestyle factors to sometimes have such a strong impact on our brain health. So those three different systems that I'll cover today are our brainwashing or glymphatic system. This is the brain's way of clearing toxins, and this is strongly influenced by sleep and exercise. We'll talk about neuroplasticity, which is the brain's resilience and ability to form new connections, and how it's influenced by cognitive engagement, exercise, and nutrition. That's a bottle of olive oil there. And last but not least, we'll talk about oxidative stress, which is a process that happens to cells in our body that can affect our brain health specifically as well, and how oxidative stress can be managed by exercise and it can be influenced by nutrition. So we're kind of going to cover a lot of ground today talking about these three systems, but hopefully kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of these different systems and concepts will help you have a better understanding of exactly why some of these lifestyle factors we talk about a lot can have such a strong impact on our brain health. So let's get started. And if you have any questions during this presentation, please feel free to put them in the chat and I will get to them afterwards. Starting off with brainwashing, our lymphatic system and how it relates to lifestyle and brain health. So our brain produces waste, like many of the systems and organs in our body. In fact, our brain uses up to 20% of our daily energy, our daily calories that they take in, that we take in, which I think is pretty impressive. And the core processes performed by the brain, just as simple as transferring different signals, for example, between brain cells, create waste. They create unusable molecules that need to be cleared out. And some examples of these waste products include amyloid and tau proteins, those substances that can misfold and cause problems in Alzheimer's disease and other dementias, in addition to compounds such as extra neurotransmitters like serotonin and immune cells. And so having a strong process to clear this waste out of the brain is associated with basically helping to prevent or slow cognitive decline. So brain waste is a little bit unique compared to kind of some of the way that waste products are produced in the rest of the body. Because in the rest of the body, the waste products produced by our cells is usually flushed out with help from our circulatory systems, that's kind of our blood system, and our lymphatic system, so our lymph nodes and vessels. But when it comes to the brain's process of taking out the trash, the brain is pretty different from other organs. It has a blood-brain barrier, which kind of affects the way that certain substances that could help clear those toxins can or cannot get into the brain. And we also do not have any lymph nodes or vessels in our brain. And so those lymph nodes and vessels are typically important for clearing waste, but you will see just in that image on the right-hand side, those lymph nodes, the little lima bean shaped thingies, really stop below the brain. So they do not extend into the brain. And we don't have those same systems for the brain that we do in the rest of the body to clear out that waste. So this means that our brain needs a special system to get rid of those waste products. And this is recent-ish research. Waste products are actually washed out through the cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF. And this system is often kind of amusingly referred to as brain washing. It's also sometimes called the glymphatic system, which is kind of an alteration of the term lymph. It's a similar root, but does not involve the lymph nodes or vessels. And so this process during which cerebrospinal fluid washes through some of these specialized cavities in the brain was discovered around 2013, and it is critical for our brain health. And importantly, this brainwashing process mainly occurs during sleep. So some of the key lifestyle factors that I will highlight today that impact this process include sleep and exercise. And I'll tell you kind of exactly how those factors impact our brainwashing system. So our glymphatic or brainwashing system is active a lot throughout the day, but by and large, it is most active during sleep and especially during slow wave sleep. Research on this topic is ongoing, but during that slow wave deep sleep, different groups of brain cells fire together in this synchronized way that helps to push that cerebrospinal fluid through the brain, down the corresponding channels, and flush out the waste products. So as I mentioned, this is important for brain health specifically because sleep and this brainwashing may help to eliminate amyloid beta, that protein that misfolds in Alzheimer's disease and other dementias before it can build up in the brain. So it's very important. And interestingly, melatonin may be key to this process also and help flush out those toxins in ways that we don't fully understand. And so getting regular, consistent sleep also aids with regular melatonin production, supporting this whole process. So in this chart here, you can just see the time of day where the nighttime is highlighted, and it is showing melatonin levels. during that specific period, where it's a lot higher during the night when we are hopefully sleeping soundly and flushing out those waste products. In addition to sleep, exercise may also help us get rid of the brain's waste. So newer research is showing that regular exercise can help to improve the brain's ability to clear toxins. First of all, by increasing blood flow to the brain and helping to boost overall cardiovascular health, which kind of impacts that waste clearance in complicated ways, even though they're not exactly directly related. Regular exercise helps to kind of regulate and promote cerebrospinal fluid flow to keep that waste clearance going. And regular exercise helps to promote sound sleep. Since sleep is so important to this process, that will help us clear those waste products as well. Current research, again, is ongoing on this topic, but it seems that aerobic exercise may be the most effective at really helping us to support our brain waste clearance system. So that was kind of some information about the lymphatic or brain waste system and how it's influenced by sleep and exercise. Another kind of important underlying factor that highlights how lifestyle habits influence brain health is neuroplasticity, or our brain's ability to rewire itself. And this is what we will talk about next. Neuroplasticity overall is understood as our brain's ability to restructure itself by generating new cells and forming new connections. This can be as simple as the process of learning someone's name. So, for example, I'm simplifying a little bit here, but not too much. You might have some neurons associated with a person's face, some neurons associated with a person's name. And when those two kind of fire or go off at the same time as you're learning the name, those neurons will wire together and create a connection that helps you to retain that information. So that's kind of one example of neuroplasticity at, I guess, kind of the most basic level. But there are some other aspects to it that we will talk about. And this is a key feature of our brain at all stages of life. In general, especially in adulthood, higher levels of neuroplasticity are correlated with better brain health outcomes. And that's one reason why it's important to kind of try and help our brains stay plastic and adaptable. Some of the key lifestyle factors that influence neuroplasticity include cognitive engagement, staying mentally active, exercise, and nutrition. And I'll talk a bit more about how all those impact neuroplasticity, but I also just wanted to share some more info about neuroplasticity's key roles first. So neuroplasticity allows the brain to both learn from new experiences, as I described, and regain or maintain function after specific injury. And you can imagine how both of these would really help us protect our brain health. To kind of further illustrate that example I gave, I wanted to share a short video that I quite enjoy. And in fact, this may be one of my favorite videos ever that shows two neurons in a lab actively connecting with each other. So hopefully this will play. But again, these are real neurons, and I hope that you find it interesting. Yeah, so those are real neurons forming a brand new connection. And those connections like that are formed constantly, such as with that name example I gave, but also if you visit a new place, if you practice a skill that you have, and in all kinds of other situations. And that's one of the core features of neuroplasticity. Ooh, sorry about that. There we go. In addition, a really important role of neuroplasticity is that it helps us or can help us to regain or maintain function after injury. So an example of this would be an individual who has had an area of their brain damaged in a stroke. The brain's kind of adaptability and resilience can help it to recruit a different part of the brain to perform the functions that were lost. And of course, this will depend on a lot of different circumstances and factors, But overall, right, in this specific example, this individual was able to kind of recruit another part of their brain to make up for the damage on the side that was harmed in the injury. So this is a pretty sort of more extraordinary example of neuroplasticity and our brain's resilience in action. So some specific ways kind of based on those things that neuroplasticity can help protect the brain. We know that brain changes can occur due to injury, like in that example that I just gave, or due to prolonged or severe stress. Some brain changes that are typically a lot more minor and mild than that can occur just during normal aging and during disease processes such as that of Alzheimer's disease. So neuroplasticity can help the brain to compensate for changes, such as by recruiting those new areas. And that example that I gave with the injury, neuroplasticity can help us to build up brain reserve that can be used later. This refers to kind of really dense areas of connection that are then available to be rewired if injury or damage is faced. And in some cases, a plastic brain can really help to heal and even restore damaged areas. This varies a lot in the situation, and it's not always possible to heal areas of the brain. But one common example of this actually is that stress can cause mild damage to our hippocampus, which is important for memory and learning. And when we treat our brain well, when we are able to remove the stressor and engage in healthy lifestyle habits, that part of the brain can literally grow back some of the neurons that were lost. So that would be kind of an example of neuroplasticity being involved in direct healing and restoration. Right, but overall, this is just really important for helping to protect the brain and potentially preventing or slowing cognitive decline. So that's kind of an overview of this factor, neuroplasticity, and here's some key lifestyle factors that influence it and promote it. Staying mentally active is a really big one. So cognitive engagement, doing activities that challenge us and that we enjoy really encourages the brain to form new connections and can even encourage it to generate new brain cells. And in fact, activities that challenge many parts of the brain may be the most impactful. So these are often things that are considered more holistic activities, creative ones such as art and writing. Language learning is a big one. And then in addition, research suggests that activities that combine movement with problem solving, so things like cooking, building, and organizing that are both physical and mental, can both help boost our brain's resilience. Exercise has also been shown to help support neuroplasticity. And in fact, both aerobic exercise and strength training may help to boost our brain's ability to form these new connections. Exercise has been shown to increase BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a key protein that instructs our brain to generate new cells. In addition, exercise may boost neuroplasticity by improving brain blood flow and reducing inflammation. Last but not least, for neuroplasticity, nutrition can make a difference. So eating a balanced and nutrient-rich diet has many benefits for overall brain health, but kind of focusing on neuroplasticity here, healthy fats, especially omega-3s, may be particularly responsible for improving our brain's plasticity and resilience. And this may be because about 60% of our brain cells, are composed of fat. So those quote unquote healthier fats may be especially important. We talk a lot more about this in our Mediterranean diet course, but some of the best sources of omega-3s include our fatty fish, like salmon and mackerel, and walnuts and some other nuts, chia seeds, and flaxseed. So we've talked a bit about neuroplasticity and how it's related to some of those key lifestyle factors. And the last kind of underlying mechanism I wanted to talk about today that affects brain health is oxidative stress, and how we can protect our cells overall from damage. So we're going to talk about a balance between two important types of molecules, free radicals and antioxidants. So in terms of what oxidative stress is the cells in our body produce these molecules called free radicals. And these free radicals are a normal product of our cell functioning and growth. They occur just as the cell takes in energy, uses energy, grows, and divides. So they're not naturally bad. And they are produced by many cells, especially cells that use a lot of oxygen, such as our muscle and brain cells. The thing about these free radicals, these kind of special molecules, is that they are unstable and they can damage surrounding cells. Free radicals have an unpaired electron on their outer shell that will basically try and connect to and steal the electrons belonging to the atoms of other cells and molecules, causing damage. So they're really prone to being chemically reactive, and this can cause harm to cells, all kinds of cells. This damage is specifically referred to as oxidative stress, and this is just, of course, a little illustration rendering of how that might look. So research suggests that this oxidative stress is involved in a wide variety of conditions. This includes autoimmune diseases like arthritis, cardiovascular and metabolic conditions like diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, and other dementias as well. Now, this is as well an ongoing topic of research, so I don't want to claim that it's necessarily central to any of these, but it does seem to impact certain disease processes, including those related to brain health. So lifestyle changes can help to reduce this oxidative stress and to protect our brains. And a couple key lifestyle factors that help to relieve oxidative stress are nutrition and exercise. In terms of nutrition specifically, you may have heard the term antioxidant before, and antioxidants are molecules that specifically reduce our oxidative stress. What these molecules can do is they can actually donate an electron to a free radical. So remember that that free radical is actively looking for kind of new electrons to steal. And those antioxidant molecules can give an electron and neutralize that free radical, helping to prevent it from causing damage to cells. And so it's no surprise that antioxidant-rich foods can help to prevent this cell damage. We talk more about specific types of antioxidants in our Mediterranean diet course, and there are many, but just for some examples here, vitamin C is considered to be an antioxidant. It's found in things like citrus fruits, berries, and leafy greens. Vitamin E is found in nuts and seeds and broccoli. And pigments like lycopene that help give tomatoes and red peppers and watermelon their red and pink colors are antioxidants as well. So foods are a primary source of antioxidants, especially fruits and vegetables. In addition to kind of nutrition playing a role in reducing oxidative stress, exercise also plays an important role. This is kind of interesting because in the short term, working out actually increases oxidative stress. However, over time, exercise boosts our antioxidant levels. And interestingly, excuse me, not all antioxidants come from food. Some of the most important ones are actually produced in our body. So one example of this is glutathione, and levels of this key antioxidant can be actively increased by exercise. Research suggests that a combination of both aerobic exercise and strength training may be most effective in really helping to boost those body-produced antioxidants and to reduce that oxidative stress. Okay, so I hope you all found that interesting. I know that it was a lot of information, so I'm happy to answer any questions. But today I covered some key mechanisms that help explain why lifestyle factors and our everyday habits can influence brain health. And the three that we covered today, there are many others, include brainwashing. So we talked about how the brain can clear waste products and how sleep and aerobic exercise can kind of improve or boost this process. I touched on neuroplasticity, or our brain's ability to rewire itself, And I mentioned how this is influenced by cognitive engagement, so staying mentally active, by exercise, and by nutrition, especially healthy fats. Last but not least, I talked a bit about the process of oxidative stress, how that cellular damage can contribute to brain health conditions in some cases, and how it can be prevented or mitigated, especially by consuming plenty of antioxidant-rich foods, but also by having a generally brain-healthy diet and by exercise. So I hope that you found this interesting and potentially helpful. And I did just want to share some tips and recommendations as we wrap up. We explore kind of key tips related to these lifestyle factors in a lot more detail in our brain health courses. But going off of some of those factors that we talked about today, sleep was of course very important for I think 2 out of 3 of those underlying mechanisms. And in general, you want to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep. We want to establish a bedtime routine. This can be just a couple key activities that you do before sleep and that tell your brain and body it's time to wind down. And limiting caffeine as well as nighttime light exposure can make a big difference for some people. In terms of exercise, also heavily mentioned, the typical recommendation to optimally protect brain health is 150 minutes of aerobic exercise weekly. Aerobic exercise is any type of exercise that really gets your heart pumping. So it could be a brisk walk or a jog or cycling, activities like those. We do also recommend strength training 2 to 3 times per week. We talk more about strength training and give specific tips in our Brain Health Bootcamp program. And for exercise, I do want to highlight that small increases count. So if you're not getting a whole lot of aerobic exercise right now, you might not necessarily want to suddenly, go running multiple times per week. But really any increase in your activity level helps to protect your brain through some of those ways that I described and is good for our brain health. Last but not least, some of the things we touched on in terms of nutrition include enjoying lots of nutrient-dense veggies and fruits. Again, those antioxidants really are they predominate in veggies and fruits, especially vegetables. Building balanced meals can be very helpful, so including fat, fiber, protein. And as I mentioned in regards to those omega-3s, enjoying 2 or more servings of fatty fish per week can make a big difference. But if you'd like to, learn more about all these specific factors and get more recommendations for lifestyle factors in brain health, I do want to share some information about our program. So we elaborate a lot on how different habits influence brain health in our Brain Health Bootcamp. This is a 6-week course that is focused on how and why different lifestyle factors influence brain health, and it is a very practical course. So we provide concrete changes you can make in areas of sleep, nutrition, exercise, social engagement, cognitive engagement, and stress management that can help you to protect your brain. This course features weekly Zoom calls with Q&A time, and the fee is $15 per person. Our next Brain Health Bootcamp actually starts real soon. It will begin on October 2nd. That is a Wednesday. So head over to kubrainhealth.org/leap if you would like to learn more about Brain Health Bootcamp. In addition to that, if you're interested in learning more about some of the nutritional factors that were mentioned today, like those healthy fats, we offer a 4-week Mediterranean diet course taught by our awesome program manager, Rachel Sandoval, who is a registered dietitian. And this program features live classes each week with extensive Q&A time with her as well. We start with an intro to the med diet. We talk about building brain healthy meals and the glycemic index. We talk about nutrient boosting tips and tricks. That's where some of the antioxidant stuff would be mentioned and discussed. And we talk about healthy fats. We also have a lot of resources that come with that program, such as printed recipes and meal guides. This program is actually currently available both online and in person at the Clinical Research Center. The fee for the online version of the course that's actually incorrect, I'm sorry. It is $10 per participant. So it is a lower fee than Brain Health Bootcamp. And then for the in-person version of the Med Diet course, it is $30 per participant. To see the specific dates and times, we have a couple classes coming up. Head over to kubrainhealth.org/leap. Thank you. Okay, so I know that was a lot. I hope that you kind of enjoyed learning about why some of those healthy lifestyle factors can boost brain health. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at kuadrcleap@kumc.edu. My name is Rosie, and our program manager's name is Rachel. And last but not least, again, to see some of our upcoming courses and resources, head over to kubrainhealth.org/leap. Thanks so much, everybody.
Rosie, thank you very much. Would you mind popping that link in the chat? I know some people were trying to grab that. So if you could pop that link into the chat that you have, the KUADRC/leap, that would be fantastic. And then it looks actually, yeah, there you go. Thanks, Rosie. And it looks like there's a couple comments in the chat from David. So I'll let you go ahead and address those, Rosie.
Is brain reserve sort of like extra neurons that are grown and the brain has on hand to go and make new connections when there is a brain injury? Yes, that's a good way of putting it. They're not exactly extra because those neurons would typically be involved in pre-existing processes. For example, they may be storing information or something like that. But sort of the idea is that just by having those that larger volume of connections, they are available to be rewired and used in different ways. I hope that was clear. But thanks for your question. Okay, do antioxidant foods contain extra electrons just hanging around naturally? So I am actually not super familiar with the specific chemical processes besides that basic explanation of how antioxidants can lend molecules to free radicals. I would imagine there are some additional kind of chemical processes involved in causing antioxidants to have that effect, but it's a good question, and I can look more into that. And the main idea, though, is just that those antioxidants, once they are in the body, if you consume them, can help to neutralize those harmful cells, harmful molecules. Thanks, David.
Rosie, looks like there's another question about how much sleep is needed.
That is a great question. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. I can look that up in some of our previous sleep presentations and get back to you. But what I can tell you is that typically, if you're practicing good sleep hygiene and you do not have or are addressing kind of sleep-related conditions, your body will naturally get the amount of deep sleep that it needs. So sorry that I couldn't answer your question exactly, but in general, that is not something to worry about because your sleep hygiene will take care of that. Thanks for
Rosie, in the previous slide, you were talking about sleep you needed between 7 and 9 hours of sleep. Is that somehow correlated?
Yes. So by getting sufficient sleep, you are also hopefully ensuring that you're getting enough deep sleep. If that makes sense. And the 7 to 9 hour guideline is general. So people will all be different. In fact, some scientists believe that each person has a really specific sleep set point, which I find really interesting. So one person might need, 7.7 hours and one person might need 8.2 hours. But in general, the range is 7 to 9 hours.
Fabulous. Any other questions for Rosie today? All right. Well, Rosie, as always, thanks so much for joining us. It's always such a delight to have you on the weekly webinar. Next week, Kelly G will be back. And just a reminder, this recording, as well as all of our other weekly webinar recordings, are on our YouTube channel. So feel free to check those out. If you're really bored and just want a day, we could fill up an entire day with all of the recordings we have of weekly webinars that are fun and interesting. Other quick thing I wanted to mention, Kelly messaged me me, and at the conference she was at, she was able to be very successful in the trivia competition thanks to the brain boosters that she writes. She knew so much information and was able to take home the cake for that. So I'm really excited for her to see a use of those brain boosters in so many ways. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks again, Rosie, and enjoy your week. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Rosie.
Everybody.
Oh, there's a note in here about the YouTube. Let me get you that YouTube channel, and then I'll hop off. Bye, David.
Hi, David.
All right. That should get you to the link I just popped in the chat, should get you to all of our past weekly webinars. So Vern, that's a playlist of all of our webinars. But if you explore our YouTube channel, you can see all kinds of other videos that we've done and other things that might be of interest. So feel free to check out our entire YouTube, but I did put the playlist link for weekly webinars in the chat. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Rosie.
Thanks, Tina. Bye-bye.
Bye.